This is a very fun webinar for us to do. I've got some wonderful presenters that are going to join us. We've got the fabulous Erin Kelly. I'm going to make Erin wave. Wave, Erin. Yeah, there she is. Okay, she's over 30 years in the fitness industry as a fitness trainer, group exercise instructor, personal trainer, a director, a manager, a COO, a CEO. I have no idea, an OOO for Brick Body, Star Trek, Schwinn, and Les Mills. We've got Doris Thews, the amazing keynote presenter, Doris Thews. She's an international award-winning fitness educator who leads several brands, including a global mentor for Schwinn, and she's also on the International Development Master Trainer team for BOSU. And we've got the gorgeous Jeff Howard, who is a world-renowned fitness presenter and the promotional director of fitness for Baptist Health and Milestone Wellness Center. He's a celebrity trainer. We can't tell you for who, or we'd have to kill you. And he's a pioneer instructor at the Golden Door Spa, started numerous fitness videos, educated fitness professionals at conventions worldwide for more than a decade. And I am Sara Kooperman, and I'm the CEO of SCW Fitness. And I'm going to share a little video with you guys as a welcome. Well, I was going to, so let's see if I can get this going, and then I'll enlarge it.
Built on the massive success of the first ever live stream mania, the SCW Stream team is back with a brand new fitness convention experience powered by Zoom. Introducing Live Stream Mania with over 70 presenters and all new sessions as they are streamed live from our presenters' homes and studios directly to yours, all for an incredibly low price. Earn your CECs and join us for an action-packed, interactive weekend of knowledge and inspiration. Live Stream Mania. The stream is on.
Love it. That was created by our fabulous Mike Lieber. So we're really excited because today we're going to talk about reopening your Group X studio, the responsibility that weighs upon us all as the instructor. And many studios across the world are reopening. We've got a lot of them are open already, and they're required to guarantee social distancing, which is the 6 feet apart from their neighbor. As a group fitness instructor, you're on your own. You basically, your doors are open once they get their temperature checked and they answer 5 questions, boom, they're in your doors. You're the aerobic police, you're the compliance ambassador, you're the customer service manager, all rolled into one. Somebody's wearing a mask, somebody's not wearing a mask, somebody's hugging someone. Oh my God, you touched someone. It's your room and you are the one that runs the room. And so we're going to review the responsibilities, the obligations of our fitness communities, and we've got to address how we're going to handle this. Because Erin, I think I'm going to start with you because I loved what you were saying before we began the webinar, and you were talking about, you know what our responsibilities and our obligations is. The first thing we got to do, we got to train our team. So how are they doing this at Brick Bodies, and what do you recommend?
Well, we spent a lot of time, I think all of us, have been in months of preparation for the day that the clubs finally open. So we opened just this past Friday. But for the group exercise team in particularly, we spent quite a few hours going through really scenario training with them and setting up some role play sessions. We have a team of over 150 instructors, and doing that via Zoom was quite comical.
Because what Erin was talking about is she's got 150 instructors on staff and she had to train them. And a great way to do that is through Zoom, training them through Zoom. So Erin, can you elaborate? You said that you divided them up into groups.
Yeah, so we did a bunch of different variations, like different days that they could attend, and then we probably had 15 different scenarios for them to run through as a group. And, you know, again, someone wasn't wearing a mask when they should be, someone didn't clean their equipment appropriately after class. You know, I think from an instructor standpoint, that's super important that we have to like retrain members that they actually have to clean equipment. And so scenarios like that, so just running through them and getting our team comfortable with how are they going to answer those questions and address those sorts of situations with it, you know, being in a respectful way, but also, you know, I think from a professional standpoint and making sure they're upholding what we're telling our members that we're doing in the clubs. Because, you know, there's a lot out there around all the protocols and procedures and cleaning practices that we're doing. We need to make sure that we follow through on it. And that's on both sides, not only the member side, but the, you know, the team side as well.
And Jeff, you're nodding your head, which tells me that you're in agreement with Erin, and you opened.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've opened, and ours was a very quick opening where we didn't get to prepare as much as Erin did, even though we knew it was going to happen inevitably. And you guys, we did a lot of emails and a lot of messaging and a lot of different things, but it's changing every day. That's the problem. The rules are changing so fast that 10 people were allowed in the club, and now it's 33%. And now we might be going to 50%. And so we're putting like tape on the floor for distancing, and then we're taking the tape off, and the members are very confused by it. So it really does come down to, like Erin is saying, and Doris has said earlier, is communication and getting the word out on a daily basis. And even as teachers, guys, you're going to get bogged down with all this information given to you, but it's our jobs because it's kind of our responsibility. I hate to say it, when they get into our rooms, they're our tribes. And so we want to keep them safe. And you want to keep yourself safe as well.
I think that's really important. I think it's also important to try to set the standards, but as Erin mentioned, you know, it's open season. You can put it on Facebook what the requirements are. You can have signs, you know, on the door about what you want, what the protocols are, wear your mask, going to and from the group X room or to and from the equipment. But once you're in the equipment, especially cardio equipment, then you can take your mask off, because you need to breathe and you can't impair the, you know, the inhalation of oxygen. It's very important for safety purposes. I loved what you said, Jeff, about the tape on the floor. One of the things that I highly recommend people figure out 6 feet apart and set it up as if the whole room could be 6 feet apart, even though maybe 10 people are only allowed in at the beginning. So set the positioning before they walk in that room, and then maybe they allow 10 people in, and the next time then it might be 20, and the next time it might be 30, but everybody's still 6 feet apart. Doris, what are your thoughts on the responsibilities before we open and allow these people to rush into the room and touch each other?
Well, I think it's really interesting because I've had the opportunity to pick up the phone and kind of survey the country, from studios to small gyms to big boxes. And to be honest with you, every hour on the hour it changes. It's not like it was 9/11 when I went through 9/11 at 24 Hour Fitness and we locked it down and everybody played the same. You have a studio, a private studio, and a big box on the same block, in the same state, in the same city, with 3 different protocols. And so now everything's opening up. So I really believe that the instructors need to absolutely own the room and own the situation, which means they are going to have to be the ones asking what the protocol is, coming in early, checking with the front desk, checking in with the management. There are clubs where you come in and you stand on a spot and then the instructor dismisses you to get your equipment. And then there's clubs that you get on your spot and then it's a free-for-all. There are clubs that you can only take off your mask when you're on a stage. There are clubs that say put on your mask when you get off the stage. I really believe it's the responsibility of the instructor, and with all the different clubs opening, just knowing before you walk in that door. I mean, our job has changed. The world has changed. Our job has changed. You know, if you look at the job descriptions now, it's not go teach a great class. It's about taking care of people, keeping people safe, following protocol. The job has changed. And so so must our behaviors and our responsibility. And I think we should take it very seriously. And we, as instructors, should be very proactive to know what's going on every minute on the minute.
And I just want to kind of add to that, Sarah, that like Doris is saying, since it's our rooms, it's simple things like we're wiping down the equipment, they're taking towelettes, but we had 2 of them in our room. Well, if you had 17 people and they were going to get their towelettes at the same time, then you lose your social distancing. And then the door's closed to the room. So now then, who's going to open the door? Like there's things that as teachers, we have to think about that safety thing, because sadly, it's just, and what I love is, you know, like Sarah, you said at the end of the mania, you met and you have these relearning things. It's nothing is wrong. It's just relearning things and talking about it with each other, because Doris, myself, and Erin, and you, Sarah, could figure something out, but we need to communicate then across the board to teachers that are maybe only doing 1 class a week, what we're experiencing just simply by a door.
Now, that's very interesting, Jeff, and I really appreciate what you said, Doris. I'm reading something that Vicki wrote, and I want to encourage you guys. It's okay. Say your comments. We're going to have disagreements, or we're going to have people who support, you know, what we're saying. Vicki says, no, you should not take off your mask in a cardio class. You can wear masks over your mouth only, and that should make it workable. And it's like, okay, well, so you're breathing through your nose. There's no exact right answer. Vicki's right. You know, Doris is right. Jeff is right. It's got Erin's wrong, but everyone else is right. But seriously, it's that we all have different opinions, and what we have to figure out is what Jeff just said is what's going to make us comfortable in our room. I do know that I would highly recommend, if you're first opening your doors, that you avoid the high intensity workouts that make people sweat a lot and breathe very heavily. It's much more safe to start with a mind-body program, such as a yoga program, Pilates program, or a stationary strength training type of program. Erin, if you're, you know, what choices regarding social distancing and movement selection and programming options can we make in our classes? And you set your programming, don't you? And how many sessions do you typically have, and how many classes did you decide to open with?
Well, we typically have, you know, like over 150 classes a week, you know, at one location, but we had to resort to a reservation system, not only for club usage, but also for classes, where before we didn't have either. So now we have specific, you either sign up for one or the other, but because the way the reservation systems are scheduled, we're really limited on the number of classes we can offer during each reservation period. So the reservation period, and that really limited our number of classes that we could offer throughout any given day. So that's cut down on the number of classes, and you know, we can only have 10 people in a class. So we've had to really pick and choose what we're offering and when we're offering. Some of the programming, I think one thing to consider too is that, you know, members have not had access to equipment in large part while we've been closed. So classes that have, like our body pump classes, for example, our cycle classes, things like that, have been like super popular, selling out like, you know, anything right away, because I think people have been really missing that. But you also need to have the cleaning protocol in place for those programs, that everything gets cleaned appropriately in between. So we have like intermissions in between each reservation block so that we're fully cleaning everything. It's a process. But one really big learning for us was we started offering outdoor classes before we were able to go back inside the club. And that's been really interesting. I thought once the club opened that everyone would just be ready to get back inside again. But if you have the ability to offer outdoor and indoor classes simultaneously, not only do we get to expand the number of people we can see within a given time slot, but there's absolutely a group of people, they want to be there with the members, but they're not ready to go inside the club yet. So that's been a real learning. And now that we've opened the club, now we're re-expanding the outdoor programming as well, because that's what the members want. So that's been kind of interesting too.
And I've heard a lot about that, about the outdoor programming. It makes sense because restaurants open and they're out, and it's because of the ventilation and the circulation. And if I were opening a new facility, the first thing I would invest in is my ventilation system, because it's going to be key, and that's never going to go away.
Yeah.
I don't feel that ever will go away. If you are a studio owner, we did have a gentleman named Paul Christopher, and he owns a gravity and oxygen studio in Boca Raton, and he put turf outside. And I actually heard of a studio actually putting turf outside in their parking lot so people could work outside, which I thought was interesting. You have to check with your landlord, you have to check with the neighbors, you might even want to check with the community to make sure it's allowable. Doris, have you heard of the outdoor programming, and what other type of programming have you seen people utilize? Is it weight bearing? Is it equipment? Do people bring their own equipment? What do you see out there?
Well, to piggyback off the research that we're seeing, cardio is really the biggest concern when we're indoors. And so when we go outdoors, we're seeing a lot of high intensity. So what I've seen in Indiana is you're seeing cardio classes, which could be rowers, which could be spin bikes, indoor cycling bikes. They also could be any type of cardio equipment, and then they're just doing cardio-based moves. So it could be intervals, Tabata series. You're just seeing a lot of cardio work outside, and I think that is bringing a bunch of joy. I'm seeing a lot of body pump classes in the park. I'm seeing a lot of that, but I would say what I'm seeing the most innovation is the cardio outside, and people are. It's almost like a baby step of coming into the club. It's kind of like a first step to come in, especially now with the weather being well.
Yeah, we got a comment from Philadelphia. It's just hot and humid, and it's just horrible out there. Jeff, you're in Kentucky. What type of classes? I know you have a reservation system where
Right.
a certain number of people can reserve their spots. What classes do you see filling?
Well, first I want to hit the reservation system. So we've never had that before. Erin, I don't know if you had either, but we all had to come up with a different system, guys. And so I'm not sure the one we came up with, but I know that the learning curve on that alone, teaching people how to register for that, was horrific, guys. So when I'm done, I would love Erin to tell what she's used, but for me, with the system we've used, I don't know. It's been a nightmare. And then when you have people sign up, then they don't want to come in, or they canceled, then they don't know how to cancel it. And then people haven't signed up, so they don't know if they should come in. And it becomes this whole different thing on its own. But getting back to what's been popular for us, it's amazing for me. Our senior fitness, those rooms are getting packed with my seniors that are 60 plus, 65 plus, that are wanting to just move and be with their friends and still be with each other. And I'm shocked by that. The younger population, our millennials, are doing a lot more heavy weight training, kind of like we've seen across the board. But it's interesting. There's different places like our cycle bar here in town doing very well, where there's people that are backed up that can't get into the class, but they've also 29 bikes in the room. Orange Theory, they have 14 in a room. They're doing very well. So it just depends on the modality. And like I said, kind of across the board, everybody's having a different theme. At Orange Theory, they're wearing the plastic shield. The teachers all wear the plastic shields. At Milestone, we wear the mask in the gym, but as soon as we get to the studio, we take them off, and they're allowed to take them off if they're comfortable with it. I personally would like them to leave them on sometimes because, like, a member sneezes, guys, and you're like this. Oh God, somebody sneezed. Like, what do you do? Even with it 6 feet, you're like, and everybody looks at them. It's something that you're just not prepared for. Erin, what system did you guys use, if you don't mind me asking, for the sign up? And then Doris.
Sure, yeah, we're using MindBody. So we use MindBody for the PT side of our business. So we just basically built out a reservation system for club usage and for our outdoor classes and indoor classes through MindBody. And it's actually worked out really well. But to your point, there is a huge learning curve, and that's a ton of communication that needs to be not only sent to the teams, but then also to the members, like over and over again, so they understand how to use it and how to reserve. So that's, we have a dedicated team just answering the reservation questions. You know, I mean, that's kind of what you need as a point person on that.
The facility that I taught at actually did a wonderful video, an instructional video, exactly training people, you know, with a little arrow and things like that, how exactly they should register. And if you keep it under a minute, you can put it on Instagram. If it's over a minute, it can't go on Instagram. So you got to keep it under a minute, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then you can also put it on your website. We did that for Live Stream Mania. Mike Lieber, who is actually running this webinar, created our a wonderful introduction and kind of like how, you know, to walk us through for people reserving and getting used to Live Stream Mania, because whenever you switch systems, it kind of freaks people out. And this is so funny. Robin said to everyone, "I'm terrified that I'll sneeze in public." Somebody asked a question. They said, "What do you do?" And I'm gonna, Erin, you're stuck with this one. What do you do when people in your classroom begin to mingle and start hugging each other? Now they may, you know, people feel like they know each other, they understand they've social distanced with their own families, but they feel comfortable, and then suddenly see each other and they hug each other.
Yeah.
I know. What do you do? It's like,
Right.
You know, you can't.
This was one of the scenarios. We actually had to play this one out with the team because we knew this was going to happen. And it was just walking them through, making sure that they told the member, like, look, I know that you're really happy to see each other, but we really have to respect the social distancing guidelines right now. And please, no hugging. I mean, we just like, it was just like very to the point, but we had to role play that one with our team because we knew that would absolutely happen. So, yeah.
And Jeff, how are you doing it? Because I know you're teaching right now. I mean, and I'm sure people want to hug you.
Like air hugging.
Yeah, that's the problem, guys. So, you know, there's this thing that they haven't seen us for 3 months. And so we have to do this big welcome that they're back. So you're like, welcome back. Da, 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 we're so glad you're here. Da, 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 the ambassador of the club. But then you have to also then stipulate the rules, and you will set the example. You set the example by, I'm so glad use your words, just use your words. And a lot of people are giving you an elbow from a room, from across the room. That's like a high five. It's just a new thing. Or touching ankles. It's amazing, the recognition, but I'm always walking away feeling like, did I give them enough of a welcome back? Because they've missed us. And so there's this pull there as well.
I think you're just, it's not an elbow. It's just like a little armpit thing going on. I want you to smell me. Somebody just put up, said, this is what waivers are for. If people are hugging, if people are sneezing, if they're touching people in places they shouldn't be touching, you know, that's why they sign the waivers. In a previous webinar, we attached a waiver of liability that I want you guys to make sure to look at. You should be mentioning COVID-19 plus other viruses directly in the waiver. That's what's recommended. But also posting signs. Now, speaking as a lawyer, at least if you post the signs, you've acknowledged and they have to comply with these regulations. But if you post the signs, you better enforce the regulations. But it does give you a little bit of a cushioning, like you don't have to say it's not my fault, just, you know, pointing to the sign, don't touch each other. Doris, you've got a look of, yeah, right, Sarah. But I
think knowledge is power, and that's why every hour in the hours things are changing. Folks need to know what they're doing. And what I'm hearing with all the research that I did this week, even instructors who are going to maybe studios or big boxes that are not giving them instruction, they're not feeling comfortable. And it's very obvious to the members they're not comfortable. So when these social distancing situations happen, they don't know how to handle. So when a club is well organized, well structured, communicating, the instructor gets ahead of it, and they come in with confidence and they lead the room properly, and it doesn't become a problem. I think it's when, you know, you have facilities that are not providing the information, or the instructor who's kind of checked out, that it's where you go. And I want members to also understand that instructors also have the right to choose to where they want to teach. And when members aren't following protocol, or facilities aren't providing this safe environment for instructors don't want to teach there. So I have to tell you that there's a twofold to this. I think a lot of instructors are thinking twice about going back to certain locations or staying on schedule based on what the clubs have done for them. The ones that are getting good information, they cannot pick up enough classes. Those where they're not sure and they feel like they're not sure what to do, they don't feel good being there.
So that's good for owners and managers to realize this, that instructors are making choices. And the other choices they're making, and I know a lot of us, I'm looking at the names here and I've recognized you from other webinars, is I've been live streaming. I've been asking for donations. I'm making a lot of money. You know, what do? Do I want to go back, or do I actually prefer just to keep doing my live streaming and taking my donations? And Erin, I'm going to ask you this. What does Brick Bodies do? Do they have a policy of, if you come back, you have to stop your free live streaming because you're now part of our staff? Is there any type of requirement or restriction or exclusivity?
We haven't made that that requirement of the team. There's been a handful of instructors that have been teaching around, but we also launched our virtual studio while we were closed. So we were able to kind of capture a lot of our instructors continuing to teach and provide content for us while we were closed. So that kept them engaged and part of the team. And that was a real strategy for us to keep that team intact while we were closed as much as we possibly could. So no, we don't have anything in policies in writing, but I think it's about a matter of engaging with them. And also, I think, Jeff, you may have mentioned, is around really assessing like how comfortable they are coming back. And that's what we had to do. We literally called every single instructor, are you ready to come back to teach yet? If not, that's okay. Let us know when you are. Some of them said, I don't think I want to come back to teach at all. We had a percentage of instructors that decided that was their path, and just respecting where they are and kind of meeting them where they are at that time and what they're comfortable with, I think is most important. And then, just seeing how quickly we can get them re-engaged.
And that's nice that, Brick Bodies has provided that outlet, that option. Jeff, I know that you actually are accepting donations for your morning classes. You teach one a day. And Bon asked everyone, what's the best approach to ask for donations for our live or virtual classes?
Well, see, this is where it gets a little tricky for me, because at my club, when we started open, we've been open a week. This is our second week going in. We've been told not to live stream anymore, because if we're live streaming, then the members won't come in. And so I've been told that I no longer can live stream. But when I was live streaming, I would just basically, when I was teaching, I would thank people for donations. I would just say, thank you so much for your donations. It's really helped me out through this time. And so it plants the seed that somebody's given a donation. And so it's not asking for it indirectly, but then also in words, you can say, if you like anything I've done, a donation would be helpful at this time. Some people have asked how to get around this. What we've done at Milestone is we've let people know that the rules are there, because otherwise we might have to close back down again. There's this fear that if you don't comply with the rules, you can be shut back down. And so if you let the members know that this is for their own good, and it's also, we can be closed down like this, because the Board of Health can be called if we don't comply. And you're right, guys, everybody in the areas has different rules, but just, it's your house, it's your club, what you feel comfortable with, and just let them know this is the rules of our house, as you would have a rule in any of your homes that you live in.
And I think what people also need to realize is these clubs are suffering. They've had members freeze, they've had members cancel. These clubs gave us our start. They gave us our following. The people who come and take our classes that are paying us on Venmo or on PayPal, we found them because of the club. So we do need to show that loyalty. Somebody asked, should we ask to be paid extra or like hazard pay? And I'm like, you know what? At this point in history, it's like, it's kind of rough to say, but be glad you kind of have a job to go to. Doris, how do you see the smaller facilities versus some of the larger facilities responding to that?
Wow, well, different job descriptions, that's for sure. I mean, I think Lifetime Fitness, big shout out to them. They did now they're called group fitness performers, and 3 of their 4 requirements on their job duties are relationships, cleaning a room, promoting the club, oh yeah, and teaching a good class. Like, the game has changed. It's a totally different job. And so I see the bigger boxes being really smart, restructuring. 24-Hour Fitness was very bold, sent it out early on saying, you will clean and you will teach, and then you'll hang out and help out the fitness people. And I don't think that's bad. I think honesty and the truth sets you free. The game has changed and the job has changed. And so I'm seeing big box communicating. I'm seeing the smaller boxes not quite sure and kind of hesitant. And I'm seeing a lot of instructors not coming back on the studios because their class sizes are cutting half, which affects their pay. And Sara, as an attorney, can facilities really tell someone you can't live stream? Can they block that income? Whether it's a libel issue or it's a morality issue, everything's crazy right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to duck that question.
I mean, it's the game. Everything's changed. So I would say the more organized you are, they're ahead of it. They've changed the description, and they're only inviting back actually the team players who had the good numbers. This is also a great excuse to clean up your schedule, get the right people in. If people are not getting their class back and they're curious, they probably should maybe do a self-examination. And those who had the good attitudes, who've had the numbers, who are not going to that are on board, will get their classes. It's a really great opportunity to clean things up. That's what I'm seeing across the board at all boxes.
And you know what the nice thing is for the larger facilities, they have to set rules and regulations. And it's also, and that provides some security to the instructor, that at least I know what's expected of me. But as an owner and a manager, if you're working with a boutique studio, a smaller facility, it's better to set those parameters because it gives people that sense of security. I think that a facility like Brick Bodies can say, great, go ahead and live stream. You know, I'm not going to regulate you or control you. But it's because a lot of people that want to come back to the facility are coming back to the facility and not just the instructor. And when you get to a smaller boutique studio, it's not that every group fitness class isn't instructor driven, because we all know it is, but it's even more so in the boutique studios. So legally, can you stop somebody? You know, you can you can create, covenants not to compete. And it's if I'm paying your education and I'm giving you a certain number of classes a week, even if I'm not paying your education, I can require it. And then as an instructor, you can choose to teach there or choose not to. It doesn't mean it's right or it's fair. It just means that's what it's doing. And we get a question here. Some instructors are choosing not to return because they're collecting more from unemployment. And
who wants to take that one? I'm literally like, I don't know.
You open your mouth, man. It's yours.
It's all going to end. I mean, by the end of July, the extra money is stopped. So know this. Sometimes, like with our facility, if you decided you didn't want to come back and we offered you a job, then we realized that you wanted to leave. So that means you got fired. And so then unemployment stops. But what they're doing here in Louisville then is people aren't answering their phones, so they can't get their employee to talk to them. So then it's not officially happening. It's this weird situation that's happening. I don't know about you guys. Are you finding that too, or?
Erin, are you finding some instructors are choosing not to come back or just avoiding contact?
Yeah, not so much not coming back because of what they would receive in unemployment. I don't think the majority of our instructors don't have enough classes probably that unemployment would pay them more. But but we definitely have some other staff members that was the case, for sure. So we tried to really keep our personal trainers as an example intact, because they are, a huge part of our revenue stream. And so we continue to keep them on as full-time paid employees even while we were closed.
Wow.
And we kept our part-time people on as long as we possibly could. I mean, they only went about maybe 4 weeks without us paying them. So we did everything we could to try to keep our team whole during the period. And I know that's not feasible for a lot of organizations, but luckily for us, we were able to do that. And that, I think, has put us in a really good position right now. But yeah, but to your point, Jeff, I mean, the unemployment piece is going to end. And then if those that choose to make that decision not to come back, there just may not be a job for them at that point. And that's unfortunate. So, I mean, but that's going to be the reality of the situation. So I think people just need to be aware of that.
And the other thing that's going to happen with the live streaming is people want to go back. Yes, we're going to have to keep live streaming. We're always going to have people that I can't make it into the facility today, or I'm sick and I don't want to, I'm just getting over it. I don't want to be contagious. Not if it's COVID, but let's just say it's a cold or something. They don't want to come in. But we're already seeing a huge decline in the online streaming classes. I don't know, Erin or Doris, if you've seen any of that, but we've seen it. At least I was streaming my yoga instructor, and it's gone down and down and down. And I find people do want to go back. Doris, are you seeing people maintain the streaming? And then are you also seeing them it declining or maintaining, or what?
I think some of it's seasonal, I must say. I knew when this happened, the game changed, and people do love to roll out of bed in their pajamas and take a Pilates class with their cat. It just works. And then there's times when they just got to go to cycle because they love that pumping music. But I think the weather right now, it's springtime, it's summertime, people are getting outside, and people are starting to socialize a little more. So I think it's a little bit of everything. I think on the educational piece, instructors are going back to work. And so because they're going back to work, I think they have so much to memorize and to learn and to figure out. And so I think it's a little bit of the weather. I think fall comes, the weather changes, inside, it might change back, we'll swing back. But live will always be around. It just will be, especially with people traveling, the senior population, and just pure convenience.
Yeah, I think it's going to be critical for clubs to really figure out good quality live streaming solutions, because that was the big thing for us too, is finding a platform where we could live stream before everyone had to be locked in their homes, and we were all doing it in our living rooms. But even before that, it was, finding good options where you have a good streaming experience. I think that's the next wave from either a studio or club perspective, is to really figure that out. Because go ahead.
Sorry, because I agree with you. Like, I find that the live streaming has slowed down a little bit live, but if you have the database on whatever you're using, by the end of the day or by the next day, then the stream goes back to what it was. So let's say live streaming, you get 70 to 80 people or 100 people in the time. Now you might get maybe half of that, but they're going back to that workout. And then by the end of the, let's say 24 hours, you're going to get 1,000.5 or 2,000. That's what I'm getting, is not like 1,000.5 now or 2,000, but it's over a duration of time. Like they're saving them or something now. I don't know what's going on.
They do their favorite, like you.
Erin, what was that? Could you say that again?
I said they do their favorite class with Jeff. That's why he's getting 1,000.
And they like the flexibility of playing it on their own time. And I agree with you, Doris. I really do think the weather has got a lot to do with it, but I think that they have learned how to do it. And I think it's very important that they learn how to do it. Somebody asked about a waiver of liability. I'm going to tell you, when you open your doors, you've got to have a new waiver for people, because you also have to make sure that if they're live streaming with you, you're still responsible for teaching a good class, that they don't get injured. And I know it seems like, well, no, they're on their own. I'm not even watching them. They're just, they're just doing it, and they're doing it at their own risk. Well, at least you've got to tell them. It's called an informed consent form. Inform them of the risks, and they assume the risk. Even if you flash a little screen or verbally say it, you've got to make sure that you do this. And that's important to do. We've got, what are the regulations and restrictions should we set on ourselves as instructors? Like, the restrictions are, how many classes should we teach a day? Should we even hug our family members when we see them, or the people we're social distancing with when we're at the facility? What if we disagree with the way the owners or the managers are regulating things, and we don't feel comfortable? I have to take my mask off. I can't breathe. How do the instructors navigate with their superiors? And everyone's staring. Okay.
I mean, I think if instructors are uncomfortable with how things are being handled in the facility in which they work, one is to express their concerns to their management team. I think, nothing's going to be perfect, and that's something to keep in mind too, that everyone needs to be really agile during these times and flexible, and know that things are going to change. Like we said before, they're changing all the time. So what might be the case now could be different going forward, or there's just things that we haven't thought of. I mean, it's just, this is a new world, and there's going to be different situations that come up that none of us have thought of or role played or put into our policies and procedures. So, we expect our teams to be our eyes and ears as well of what they're seeing out there in their classes and on the floor, and help us to be better to address those. So I think that's a main thing. It's just the communication, and not go directly to your management team. It's not spreading it across 100 different people that are like, I can't believe this happened there. It should be taking it to the people that can actually do something about it and addressing it. I think
that's essential. And Erin, the first word that really stuck out to me that you said was agile. And Jeff had also intimated that. Jeff had said, today we're 10 people in the room, and then tomorrow is 30%, which means I can have 25 in the room. So we have to be agile, we have to communicate, and we have to encourage feedback. So I think the beauty of Zoom is we can have staff meetings every week, and we can record them, and you can even set up 5 questions afterwards that people have to answer and email it back to you. Okay, that's kind of sneaky, but at least then that they watch the recording. And you should never have a staff meeting over 30 minutes because people hate you otherwise. But Doris, what recommendations would you also set for the students, like in the room, and how would you set them and why? Like, do you stand up in front of the room and say, we're gonna take our masks off, but you have to stay in your spot? And it's kind of like learning how to pivot in basketball. Always keep one foot on the dot so that you keep your social distance. What would you recommend for that?
I think we're going to wear many hats. The first one is going to be controlling the room. So you're kind of the MC of, hi, welcome. My name is Doris. Here's what you can expect today. The world has changed. It's going to go this way, this way, this way. Okay, that's done. Great. Hi, I'm Doris. Now I'm your instructor. Now let's have a great time. Hi, now I'm Doris. It's time to put your equipment away. Go in order. Hi, I'm Doris. Please check out these promotions. And I just think we're wearing different hats. And I think the instructors just really need to seriously own this, because this is a pandemic. And I just think you need to shift hats because teaching now is a percentage of what we do. It really is.
I think that's very wise. I'm going to ask you guys, we're getting to the 1 minute mark here. And I'm gonna lead with you, Jeff. I want to just give me a little bit of a closing of how we should handle this mess.
I just want to say this, guys, protect yourselves. We've gone from maybe teaching 1 class a day, maybe at home, to doing our regular schedules, and it is going to tax you. So make sure that you just take yourselves first. Eat, sleep, and just nutrition yourselves, and listen to your bodies. I mean, last week freaked me out. I wasn't used to it. And just learn from me. Learn from my mistake of just not being prepared and saying yes to too many things. No is not a bad word. Say no if you need to say no.
Great. Erin?
I think just, continue to make yourselves familiar with, what's required of you at each place that you teach, and just be really versed in, because it's different from location to location, as we mentioned before, and just taking a really vested interest in knowing what to do when you come in, and give yourselves plenty of time. That's the thing that we're finding with a lot of our team, is that they're rushing in at the last minute, because that's what we do as instructors. We rush in at the last minute and rock up to teach our classes. And but you really need like at least 30 minutes, to get there beforehand, do the check-in process, get acclimated with your room and all the changes that are going to be there. So just give yourself time before coming into the clubs. It's important.
Cool. Thank you. And Doris?
Well, there's seasons in life, and it's totally okay to now check out this new world and these new jobs and these new responsibilities. Slow down. Really know what you're in for. And if you're in for it, step into it and own it, because it's not just teaching a class. It's about your life and other people's lives. And it is totally okay to say, not yet, not now. I have a sick parent. I have kids. I'm uncomfortable. I'm not sure. I don't think you have it together. You have it too much together. It's totally okay. There's no one's wrong in this season of what we're going through. And so I'd really encourage you, but if you're in it, be in it to win it and own it.
That's great. It's great advice. Now, I got a few questions in the chat box. They asked about platforms, like what shoes they should wear. No, what platforms for live streaming and on demand. I know, I don't take anything seriously. We did a whole webinar with 3 different companies that talk about this stuff. It's on the recordings. Michael plugged that in. I'm going to close with something we're really scared to do, but SCW is really hoping to hold our Dallas Mania. So I'm going to share this with you guys, and here we go. You're never ready. So just do it. Just go in there and teach. You love your students. Do the best you can possibly do. They love you. They need you. And the clubs have never appreciated us more. So enjoy it for the time being. And I thank you all for coming. We have a fabulous webinar coming up on Thursday that I'm pulling up, on unemployed group fitness, the new frontier. Oh my gosh, what do we do with all these 24-hour fitnesses that are closed, that are like never coming back? So I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. You guys take care. We'll see you at Livestream Mania. We'll see you at Dallas Mania. We'll see you later. Thank you.